Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlotte Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Dithmini De Silva. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
Teachers to take to the streets tomorrow. Evaluation of ordinary level answer scripts to be impacted. Sajid and Anura meet separately with TNA in Jaffna. Both explain their positions on the 13th Amendment. Paffarel asserts presidential election must be held on time and extending presidential tenure is not permissible. Mahinda Rajapaksa warns of UNP's demise if elections are postponed. Enjoining order against Vijayadasa extended again.
In response to the ongoing salary crisis, the joint teachers' unions are gearing up to initiate trade union action once again.
Now, as the first phase of their campaign, nationwide protests are planned to commence tomorrow. The teachers' unions have announced that they will withdraw from the ordinary level answer sheet evaluations from tomorrow afternoon.
අධ්‍යාපන ශාස්ත්‍රයේ අර්බුද ගණනාවක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට දැන් මේ ගුරු විද්‍යාර්ථී විෂමතා ඉවත් කිරීම ඇතුළේ මේ ඉල්ලීම්.
There are many crises in the education sector. We are launching this series of protests tomorrow centered on 100 regional offices in Sri Lanka over several demands including the teacher principal salary disparity. The allowance for GCE O-level examination paper marking has not been given in full. Last year they said they would increase the allowance by cabinet decision, but no changes were made. We will launch these protests centered around all the evaluation centers as well. The evaluation of the GCE O-level examination papers will be stopped after 1 p.m. tomorrow. We demand the government to immediately provide us with the solutions to the teacher principal salary disparity. Also, the burden of education should be removed from the parents' shoulders.
Meanwhile, the Education Professionals Union held discussions with the Minister of Education this afternoon.
අවුරුදු 27ක් මුළුල්ලේ නොවිසඳුණු ගුරු වැටුප් විසමතාවයේ පිළිබඳ
Today, the minister and the secretary and the main officials of the ministry held discussions about the teacher salary disparity that has not been resolved for 27 years. Accordingly, in this year's budget, the proposal for a permanent solution was forwarded by the minister to the budget proposals, and the minister announced to the teachers and principals that he would work to eliminate this disparity through a budget proposal. We don't believe anything until we get it. We must declare that there is a considerable success in our discussion.
ප්‍රකාශ කරන්නට ඕන.
දැන් අනෙක් ගුරු සංගම් කියනවානේ හෙට මේ වෘත්තීය ක්‍රියාම කියන පාසල් අසල විරෝධතාවයම කරනවා කියලා.
හැම වෘත්තීය සංගමයකටම තමන්ගේ අයිතීන් දිනා ගැනීමට සටන් කිරීමේ අයිතියක් තිබෙනවා. හැබැයි ඒ අයිතියට පරිභව කරන හොරිකඩයෝ නෙවෙයි මෙතන එකතු වෙලා ඉන්න මේ වෘත්තීය සමිතිය.
The school development officers continued their protest opposite the Fort railway station today, urging confirmation of their service. A group of individuals who have been actively involved in the school system's learning and teaching processes for over 4 years as apprentice school development officers are now demanding to be integrated into the teaching profession. The school development officers engaged in a protest yesterday opposite the Fort railway station.
It is not appropriate to suddenly remove and institutionalize these personnel who have dedicated 4 years to educating our students within the school system at the expense of the government. Therefore, we will continue to protest until the authorities integrate us into the teaching profession.
This was the Education Minister's response to the school development officers' requests.
After calling for applications, we received 52,000 responses. The examination was fixed for the 25th March 2023. However, 2 days prior to the examination, 4 groups filed FR applications with the Supreme Court and secured an order preventing the examination from taking place. This deprived the opportunity for others to sit for the examination that would have seen them integrated to the teacher service. Due to order from the court, we could not provide them with appointments through any other means. Eventually, the Supreme Court issued a ruling allowing the 9 provinces to hire teachers based on provincial exam results. As a result, these provinces have been proceeded with appointments. However, a portion of the applications is still waiting for their appointments, while others have been assigned as development officers. The situation has become complicated due to ongoing court cases and lawsuits. Despite the protests, we cannot resolve court matters outside the legal system. The only way to address these issues is through the courts. The continuous strike launched by university non-academic staff entered its 40th day today. The strike launched by university non-academic employees against a 15% salary reduction and the failure to increase their pending allowances. The strike has significantly disrupted the operations of all universities and 17 higher education institutions. The Joint Committee of University Trade Unions has reported that academic activities, weekend courses and examinations at these institutions have come to a complete halt as a result of the strike. Damikas Priyantha, co-chairman of the University Trade Union Joint Committee, emphasized that the strike will persist until their grievances are adequately addressed.
A group of unemployed graduates from the Southern Province engaged in a silent protest opposite the Southern Province Governor's office this morning, urging the government to provide appointments to unemployed graduates.
We have been taking to the streets for 4 years. After making great sacrifices to graduate, we are on the streets. We had to work hard to graduate. Why was the university system created if they can't provide jobs for our education? What is the purpose of higher education? Why are we treated differently?
The group that protested for almost an hour had the opportunity to meet a representative of the governor of the Southern Province.
He said we will be given an opportunity to meet the governor as soon as possible within 3 days. The governor will discuss with the central government authorities led by the president and tell us the decision. The only issue is that they haven't granted the relevant permission. There are funds and vacancies. Appointments can be made after looking into vacancies if permission is granted. He said they will discuss the relevant permissions and inform us of the decision.
The President has appointed a committee to address salary discrepancies in the public service.
Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe has formed an expert committee to address salary discrepancies in the public service. The President's media division said that the committee is chaired by Uday Senaviratne, a former secretary to the President and senior administrative officer. It added that the committee comprises of 4 Director Generals and 4 additional members.
The Railway Trade Union Collective held a press conference in Colombo today addressing the issues related to train operations.
අද එන්ජින් නඩත්තු කරන්නේ නැති නිසා එන්ජින් විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් නඩත්තු කරන්න බැරිව
A large number of engines are not being operated since maintenance is not being carried out. Spare parts are unavailable and therefore they have been removed. It is the same with power sets. Maintenance is not carried out on them as well. 160 compartments were brought into the Department of Railways recently. When these were brought to the department, there were a number of defects in them and we were against bringing them. There is no way we can use them today. On the other hand, nothing related to maintenance on railway lines has been done either. It was only recently that 10,000 railway tracks were brought to the department. Just placing these tracks won't be enough. The relevant carpenters are not present at the department today, and at the same time the relevant experts who are in charge of the maintenance don't have the necessary equipment they need. 458 locomotive drivers are needed, but only 263 of them are available. There are 193 vacancies. The number of train operators that are needed is 685, but the number of operators available is 478, and 207 vacancies remain. Only 60 station masters have been approved by the department and all 60 remain vacant. There should be around 6,000 technicians, but there are 3,000 vacancies. Security officers are vital, yet there are 350 vacancies. The government has failed, and so has the Minister of Transport and Highways Bandula Gunawardena, who keeps talking all the time.
පුරප්පාඩු තියෙන 350ක් ආණ්ඩුවට නොහැකි වෙලා තියෙනවා මේක නිතරම කටමැත දොඩවන ප්‍රවාහන ඇමති බන්දුල ගුණවර්ධනට නොහැකි වෙලා තිබෙනවා.
The Election Commission will be empowered to proclaim the date for the presidential election in 36 days.
Leader of the Samagi Jana Balavegya, Sajith Premadasa, and leader of the National People's Power, Kumara Dissanayake, who are preparing to contest the upcoming presidential election, met with members of the Ilange Tamil Arsukacha or ITAC in Jaffna both today and yesterday. Now, following the meeting, they expressed their stance on the 13th Amendment to the Constitution.
Sajith Premadasa said he discussed the roadmap to implement the 13th Amendment and not about 13 plus or minus. Kumara Dissanayake said he expressed his agreement regarding the provincial councils. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa met leaders of the Ilange Tamil Arasukachi at the party office in Jaffna last night during his Jaffna visit. Leader of the party, Mavaiye Senadi Raja, and party spokesperson, President's Council M.A. Sumandiran, were present for this occasion.
13th Amendment,
We are moving forward with the program to implement the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment is not something that is new, that was introduced suddenly. It is already in the Constitution. We need to formulate a roadmap on how to implement the 13th Amendment effectively and implement it. I spoke about the 13th Amendment and not 13 plus or minus. Journalists also inquired regarding ongoing discussions within Tamil political parties to field a common candidate. As a democracy, I cannot force any person or group or party to contest the presidential election or refrain from contesting. That is anti-democratic. Decisions are made based on the wishes of the people, and we are not ready to block that freedom for any reason. We requested that his position regarding the devolution of power be stated very clearly, not only to our people, but also to the Sinhalese people. He said that he will include these points in his election manifesto and that he will present his election manifesto in advance. Earlier, we decided to support him based on the facts he had included in his election manifesto in the last election. We reminded him of that. Thereafter, people in our areas voted for him in large numbers, so we want him to announce that promise not only to us but to the whole country. We will reach a decision based on that. The meeting with JVP was planned in advance. The meeting with Sajith was planned thereafter. However, this meeting took place first and the other meeting will be held later. He did not say that outright, but the meeting and discussion was held in that manner. But he did not use those specific words. Representatives of the National People's Power, including its leader Kumara Dissanayake, met the leaders of Ilange Tamil Arasukachi in Jaffna this afternoon. We discussed at length about the measures to be taken to create national unity. We have already accepted in the 2019 election manifesto that the provincial councils should operate in this manner. We must build a conversation to move forward from here. Constitutional amendments are required. We also have to reaffirm the opportunities for unity that are currently established through the Constitution. At present, we aren't thinking of the past, but looking at how to build the future. In order to build the future, the Tamil people should be given a strong guarantee regarding their political rights, and they should be given the right to make decisions that affect them. If everyone continues to dwell on the past, we won't be able to create a future. It was a fruitful discussion. We could not find solutions to all the points, but we are able to identify all the issues during the discussion. It was also mentioned that the provincial council election must be held immediately, but they admit that the parliamentary system under the 13th Amendment is not a solution to the national issue. They will present the election manifesto regarding the presidential election. Thereafter, we will hold discussions with them and reach a decision as ITAC. The enjoining order preventing Minister Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa PC from acting as the chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party has been extended again until the 25th of June.
The order was issued when the petition filed by Treasurer of the SLFP, Lasan Thaligiyawanna, was taken up again before the Colombo District Court today. The enjoining order also prevents Vijayadasa Rajapaksa from working as a member of the SLFP. When the petition was called today, the respondent requested court for more time to submit objections regarding the petition. Court granted time and issued an order extending the enjoining order until the 25th of June after considering the facts.
The final decision on granting a one-year service extension to Attorney General Sanjay Rajaratnam has been postponed until next Tuesday.
Speaker Mahinda Abeyewardene announced that a conclusive decision could not be reached during yesterday's session. The Constitutional Council convened at the Parliament complex. President Ranil Wickremesinghe had recommended the extension of Rajaratnam's service for an additional year. The Constitutional Council will make the final determination regarding the approval or disapproval of this recommendation in due course.
Multiple parties have stressed on the importance of conducting the presidential election within the current year in accordance with the Constitution, as there exists no provision for extending the president's term to 6 years. However, a debate has arisen among some parties regarding the president's potential tenure extension to 6 years, citing specific articles within the Constitution as the basis for their arguments. What is this new argument? The presidential term, which was previously 6 years, was reduced to 5 years by the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. Currently, Article 32 of the Constitution clearly states that the presidential term is 5 years. However, Article 83B of the Constitution states a bill for the amendment or for the repeal and replacement of or which is inconsistent with the provisions of paragraph 2 of Article 30 or of paragraph 2 of Article 62, which will extend the term of office of the President or the duration of Parliament, as the case may be, to over 6 years shall become law if the number of votes cast in favour thereof amounts to not less than 2/3 of the whole number of members, is approved by the people at a referendum. Now, some argue that only an extension beyond 6 years necessitates a 2/3 majority and a public referendum. This implies that changing the current 5-year term to 6 years, an increase of just 1 year can be done without a public referendum, according to some interpretations. Is this a feasible course of action? Rohan Hettiarachchi, Executive Director of People's Action for Free and Fair Elections, or PAFREL, asserts that there is no possibility of extending the President's term by 1 year.
The 19th constitutional amendment aimed to lift the president's term of office of 2 terms and reduce the term duration from 6 years to 5 years. This legislative intent, often scrutinized in court, was to explicitly shorten the term from 6 to 5 years. Under Article 32 of the 1978 Constitution, the presidential term was initially set at 6 years. However, the 19th Amendment clearly redefined this term as 5 years under the same article. Consequently, we conducted a presidential election based on this amended 5-year term, which concluded accordingly. Therefore, reverting to a 6-year term is not permissible. Gotabaya Rajapaksa also contested for a 5-year term as stipulated by the country's constitution. Therefore, there is no legal provision to extend that 5-year mandate for 6 years. This has been defined legally, and there also lies a moral issue as well.
This is the position of the SJB.
When Maithripala Sirisena became president, the 19th Amendment was not yet in place and his term was set for 6 years. However, after his election, the amendment reduced the presidential term to 5 years, affecting his tenure. Consequently, Ranil Wickremesinghe, who succeeded Gotabaya Rajapaksa, can only serve the remaining portion of the 5-year term for which Gotabaya was elected. Therefore, he cannot extend his term to 6 years under any circumstances. After the 16th of next month, the Election Commission is vested with the power to call for a presidential election. That is not something in the control of Ranil Wickremesinghe or the government. The election is supposed to take place between September and October.
මාසේ 16 අතර දවසක අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මැතිවරණය පැවැත්වෙන්නට නියමිත පරිදි.
The National People's Power asserts that there is no chance of extending the succeeding president's term by 1 year.
There has been speculation about preparations to postpone the elections due to fear. Our country currently has a succeeding president. This president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, is not serving a term originally designated for him but is completing the remainder of Gotabaya Rajapaksa's term. When this term concludes, he will have to step down. The Election Commission has already set a timeline for the electoral process. By the end of July, the Commission can begin the nomination process, and elections must be held between mid-September to early October. This schedule is clear and definitive. The repeated discussions about election postponement highlight the apparent fear of facing the ballot. Furthermore, this government lacks a proper mandate, and this emphasizes the need for presidential elections.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna holds the majority power in the current government. The leader of the SLPP, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, responded.
His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, the Archbishop of Colombo, speaking during a book launch, stressed on freedoms that cannot be taken away by the state.
We are not in a regimented society. Now they are sending kites, kites to be sent to see whether a referendum can be held and the same lot of hated politicians can continue to rule this country for another 2 or 3 years. Absolutely unacceptable. We have our constitution. The constitution gives a term of office to the president as 5 years, and that at the end of the 5 years they must go for a franchise. That is our right as citizens. The state cannot take that right away from us. As much as the state cannot take the dignity of a child from that child, similarly the state cannot take the freedom, the dignity, and all the manifestations of that freedom and dignity from us. We have had enough. We want to be able to choose our leaders in a free franchise. That is our right, and we want it.
Newsfirst with the people.
Russia is to halt the recruitment of Sri Lankan citizens into the Russian armed forces. This was discussed when the foreign ministers of both countries met in Russia on the sidelines of the BRICS Foreign Ministers Conference.
Sri Lankan Foreign Minister Ali Sabri, who is currently in Russia to participate in the BRICS 2024 Foreign Ministerial Session with developing countries, had a bilateral meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov yesterday. Minister Sabri during the meeting brought to the attention of his Russian counterpart the issue of Sri Lankan citizens who have joined the Russian armed forces and sought his assistance in resolving the issues encountered by them. In this regard, it was agreed that the forthcoming meeting that is scheduled on the 26th to the 27th of June 2024 between the Sri Lankan high-level delegation led by State Minister of Foreign Affairs Taraka Balasurya and the Deputy Minister of Defence of the Russian Federation will review these issues in detail to take suitable action to arrest the situation. At the request of the Minister Ali Sabri, it was also agreed that no further recruitment from Sri Lanka will be done. During the meeting, the two foreign ministers agreed to further enhance bilateral ties, including in the spheres of tourism, higher education and economic cooperation.
Foreign Affairs Minister Ali Sabri also met Dr. Ali Bagheri Khani, the acting Iranian foreign minister, on the sidelines of the BRICS ministerial meeting in Russia. He said that both sides reaffirmed commitment to strengthening partnerships as agreed by the leadership of both countries. Ali Sabri said that he was looking forward to continued collaboration between Sri Lanka and Iran. According to Iranian media, the top two diplomats discussed bilateral and international issues and ways to enhance cooperation between Tehran and Colombo. According to IRNA, Bagheri Khani appreciated the island nation for declaring a day of public mourning in the country over the martyrdom of Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi and Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian, and the presence of Sri Lankan representatives in funeral ceremonies in Iran. Referring to the visit of late President Raisi to this country, Sabri had called it a sign of the determination of both sides to develop stable relations. According to IRNA, Foreign Affairs Minister Ali Sabri noted that the two countries will protect the valuable legacy of President Raisi and Foreign Minister Amir Abdullahian in the development of bilateral relations and will work to improve it. Sri Lanka's Foreign Minister is in attendance in the BRICS ministerial meeting along with representatives of 15 developing countries in order to boost cooperation with this economic grouping.
Three eminent environmentalists, together with the Bishop of Mannar, Reverend Father Bastian, filed a fundamental rights petition in the Supreme Court challenging the awarding of the project to construct a wind power project in Mannar to the Indian Adani Group.
Three eminent environmentalists, Rohan Pethiyagoda, Professor Nimal Gunatilaka and Professor Sarath Kotagama, together with the Bishop of Mannar, Reverend Father Bastian, filed a fundamental rights petition against the procurement and the construction of the proposed 250 megawatt Mannar wind power project that is reported to have been awarded to Adani Green Energy Pte Limited and or Adani Green Energy SL Limited. The petition raised concerns regarding the credibility of the environmental impact assessment carried out in respect of the project and the role played by the Sri Lanka Sustainable Energy Authority or SLSEA, and raised certain procedural issues in the awarding of the purported contract and questioned the characterization of the project as a government-to-government deal. The petition also calls into question the basis for the negotiated tariff to be fixed at $8.26 per kilowatt hour for a period of 20 years when the EIA conducts its assessment based on a cost of $4.6, potentially causing considerable financial loss to the country and a burden on consumers. The case named 67 respondents, including the Cabinet of Ministers, the Sri Lanka Sustainable Energy Authority, the Central Environmental Authority and the Board of Investments, the Ceylon Electricity Board and the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka. In seeking their relief, the petitioners seek that the Supreme Court declare that there is a violation of fundamental rights of the petitioners and the citizenry at large, declare that the decision made to award the project to Adani is wrongful, and calls for any consequential actions taken to be declared illegal.
In some tragic news, two women were brutally stabbed to death in separate incidents in Horana and Thalangama. A woman was found murdered on her bed at a house in the Siriltanwatta area in Nivanapalana, Horana. According to the police, she was killed with a sharp weapon. The victim, aged 57, was married to a Bangladeshi national who is currently overseas. Her sister, who had come to stay with her a few weeks ago, was also in the house at the time of the incident, and police said that both women went to sleep together the previous night. A neighbor discovered the victim's sister this morning with her hands tied inside the house.
We were told to untie her hands and mouth. After freeing her, she revealed that the attacker had cut her sister's neck. We couldn't do anything after that. We alerted the neighbors, called an ambulance and notified the police.
The police reported that no jewelry or money was taken from the house. Further investigations are underway. Another woman's body was discovered early this morning in a house in the Thalahena area of Thalangama. The victim was 31 years old. Police suspect the woman's husband and his friend in committing the murder, and both have been arrested. The husband, aged 31, is a resident of Hingurakoda, while his friend, aged 44, is a resident of Galevela. Kalduwal Acting Magistrate DGP Karnaratna visited the scene today for an inspection. The Thalangama police have launched an investigation into the murder.
Up next is The World Today.
After a crushing defeat in the European Parliament election on Sunday, French President Emmanuel Macron called a snap legislative ballot in a desperate bid to stop the rise of his far-right rival, Marine Le Pen. While Macron's position as head of state won't be directly affected by the upcoming vote, his ability to push through legislation, the power to choose a like-minded prime minister, and the credibility of his political project will all be on the line in an election that Sunday's results suggest he'll likely lose. The election will take place over 2 rounds beginning on the 30th of June. It's the first time this century that France's National Assembly has seen its term cut short. Macron's decision was influenced by his experience at the D-Day commemorations in Normandy last week, when some of the bystanders he met said that political life has become too aggressive. Macron sees the parliamentary election as a chance to change that and re-establish a stronger, moderate majority. The upcoming election offers Le Pen the most durable figure on Europe's far right, a chance to cement a foothold on power for the first time ever. If her National Rally group confirms its position as the country's biggest party, she could have a key role in appointing the next prime minister, even if negotiations would be likely to be fraught. The United Nations Security Council has adopted a resolution endorsing a US-backed ceasefire proposal that aims to end Israel's 8-month assault on Gaza. The vote on the United States-sponsored resolution on Monday was 14-0, with Russia abstaining.
The 9,650th meeting of the Security Council is called to order.
The UN Security Council on Monday adopted a resolution aimed at reaching a comprehensive ceasefire deal in 3 phases to end the war in Gaza, with US Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield telling members, quote-unquote, "Today we voted for peace." The United States drafted text calls for Hamas to accept a ceasefire proposal announced on the 31st May by President Joe Biden that has already been accepted by Israel. Adopted by a large majority with 14 votes in favor and Russia abstaining, choosing not to exercise its veto power, the resolution also urges both parties to fully implement the terms of the proposal without delay and without condition. Russia's permanent representative told the Council after the vote there was a lack of clarity over what exactly Israel had signed up to in the resolution, leaving too many questions unanswered for Moscow to offer its support. The motion envisages a 3-phase approach to ensure a lasting and comprehensive end to the fighting. Phase 1 includes an immediate, full and complete ceasefire with the release of hostages, including women, the elderly and the wounded, the return of the remains of some hostages who have been killed, and the exchange of Palestinian prisoners. It calls for the withdrawal of Israeli forces from populated areas of Gaza, the return of Palestinians to their homes and neighborhoods throughout the enclave, including in the north, as well as the safe and effective distribution of humanitarian assistance at scale. Phase 2 would see a permanent end to hostilities in exchange for the release of all other hostages still in Gaza and a full withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. In Phase 3, a major multi-year reconstruction plan for Gaza would begin, and the remains of any deceased hostages still in the Strip would be returned to Israel. The Council also underlined the proposal's provision that if negotiations take longer than 6 weeks for Phase 1, the ceasefire will continue as long as negotiations continue. The Delhi police has cleared the air over a video that went viral on social media in which a mysterious animal was spotted at the Rashtrapati Bhavan during the oath-taking ceremony yesterday. A cat-like animal, as claimed by many on social media, was spotted in the background when BJP MP Durga Das greeted President Draupadi Murmu after taking the oath as a minister. The Delhi police have ended the mystery and said some media channels and social media handles are showing an animal image captured during the live telecast of oath-taking ceremony held at the Rashtrapati Bhavan yesterday, claiming it to be a wild animal. Delhi police said in a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, that these facts are not true. The animal captured on camera is a common house cat.
Minister of Sports Harin Fernando expressed his views on Sri Lanka cricket at a press briefing held in Colombo today.
Sri Lankans love it when the team win matches, but the same Sri Lankans disrespect them the second they lose a match or two. I asked the team to refrain from checking their social media before they left the country for the matches, and now the situation has proven me right. A sportsman never competes with an intention to lose. There may be few disciplinary issues here and there among them, and action will be taken against them too. Some may think that these players won't have any shortcomings now that they get paid well. But one thing we need to know is that we won't be able to find any cricketers to play if we don't pay them, unlike what some former ministers and former players in the team say. This is not the solution for any nonsense. However, we believe that some major changes need to take place within the team, but these changes won't happen overnight.
ලොකු දේවල් ටිකක් වෙනස් වෙන්න ඕනේ. වෙනස් කරන්න ඕන දේවල් ඕවර්නයිට් කරන්න බෑ.
Nepal will look for their first win in the T20 World Cup 2024 when they meet Sri Lanka in a crucial Group D match tomorrow in Lauderhill, Florida.
This moment is all that I've been dreaming of.
The Sri Lankan team is set to participate in their third Group D match, while Nepal has already played one match. Speculations are rife regarding the inclusion of Dushmantha Chamira or Dilshan Madhushankar in replace of Mahesh Theekshana for tomorrow's fixture. Experts suggest that the Central Broward Stadium in Lauderhill, where the match will be held, favours batsmen. According to international reports, the area surrounding the stadium experienced rainfall today. Tomorrow also marks the inaugural encounter between Sri Lanka and Nepal in a T20 match, with the match scheduled to commence at 5 a.m. Sri Lanka time. Catch all the action of this year's T20 World Cup cricket tournament on TV1 and on www.sirasatv.lk. Additionally, all matches featuring Sri Lanka will be broadcasted on Sirasa TV as well.
Two retired professional basketball players from the United States of America are in Sri Lanka as sports envoys, and they held a training program for young basketball players.
The U.S. Embassy in Colombo presented U.S. sports envoys to Sri Lanka, former National Basketball Association and Women's National Basketball Association players Stephen Howard and Aston Dye. They are in Sri Lanka for a week-long basketball program intended to harness the unifying power of sports, made possible through collaboration with Foundation of Goodness and Impact Hoop Lab. Today, Howard and Dye, both retired professional basketball players, shared their skills via Hoops for Hope, bridging borders through basketball.
And I'm excited to be here in Sri Lanka as a sports envoy. Throughout this week, me and my WNBA partner Stu will be conducting basketball camps. We'll be engaging with the locals, and we will basically be sharing our basketball knowledge and leadership expertise with the children of Sri Lanka. I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited for the hospitality. Love everything that I've seen so far, and it's just great to be able to utilize the unifying powers of basketball, which has that universal language of sports, to engage the youth of Sri Lanka.
The sports envoys led basketball clinics and exhibition matches and engage in leadership sessions, offering skills and leadership training both on and off the court.
Hi, my name is Astu Jai, coming in as a sports envoy, thanks to the U.S. Embassy in Sri Lanka to have this opportunity to be here as a WNBA vet, to share but learn from these kids and from the whole Sri Lanka community. Really a privilege to be here, to be able to share our opportunities as sports envoy for the State Department.
Beyond the clinics, they will collaborate with Sri Lankan school children to take part in a community service project in the Colombo area.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight.
Thank you for watching. A good night.